knows a lot of history about this whole situation, so he's going to share a few words with us. And then I have something to add at the end. So, Dr. Beats.
Well, Henry, this is a pretty significant moment. I see that on the sheet here, they include as your artistic scientific contributions monochromatic red footwear. Would you pull up your pant leg, please?
I
haven't
even read that.
Now, I could consider that artistic. I'm not sure it's too scientific. I'm not sure it's too artistic. When I shortly after I became president, I attended a few classes. And so I went into Henry's class, as I recall, once and sat down and didn't understand anything. So I quit doing that. I don't want to feel so stupid by going to your classes. But Henry has done a great deal for Southern Adventist University, and I'm grateful to report that he will continue to do a great deal. Maybe not as much in classes, but he just gave me a design for a plaque for a sun pole, and I think the other name for it is on here. Analemma?
That's the shape of that
Oh, that's the shape of the figure eight. Anyway, we're planning to put up a pole close to the School of Religion building that would do some interesting stuff. You tell them, Henry, what it's going to do.
Just very, very quickly. If you stand anywhere and at 12 o'clock noon, look and see where the sun is, except not 12 o'clock noon, because we're over here 12:40 during the winter time, 1:40 during the summertime. And if you look where the sun is, in the summertime it's up like this, and then in the springtime, and then in the winter time, and then back up, and it makes a figure eight in the sky. So in front of the religion building, they're going to put a pole and sunflower at the top of it with about 15, 16 feet high and a hole in the top of it. And so at 12 o'clock, 12:40, locals, noon, when the sun comes through on the cement sidewalk in front of the religion building, that will cast a shadow and a bright spot in the middle. And so it'll be here in July, August, September, October, December, and it'll make this figure eight, and that's called an analemma.
Analemma. You've been in class today. Is that good? Those kinds of things on campus, I think, to stimulate the mind are great things, and Henry has done a great deal in that regard. Another thing that I used to talk with him regularly about was the pendulum and how that was installed and why it fell down a few times and why we had it going too fast and too slow, but eventually all things worked together for good and we got it to work appropriately. Those kinds of things are very creative and they are very important for a university campus. And Henry, we appreciate that a great deal, along with your stargazing activities, which have been also appreciated. The university has an envelope. It's empty, but it has an envelope to give you. I'd like you to come up so I can give this to you. It actually does describe a monetary gift that we give to you at your graduation, I was going to say.
This is a commencement.
Congratulations.
Well, I've been asked to say a few words, so I would like to call your attention to some of the earlier entries, referring to earlier events. Down at the bottom of page 1, early on, Dr. Kuhlman made a calculation showing how high the sun really is when it looks to be so high. Because the light coming from the sun to your eye bends due to the atmosphere of the earth, as all earth science students know. Now, was that done in association with your dig in Jordan, or was it totally separate?
No, it was earlier, I was involved with some surveyors. They were doing some surveying, and they were shooting the sun, and so when it gets to be, it's not much of a problem when it's up high, but when it gets down low, the atmospheric bending is significant.
Well, we had lost track of that article, and Dr. Kuhlman pretended not to know where it was, maybe didn't. But one day when I was sorting paper for recycle purposes, it showed up on the back. And then a little further down, attendance at American Physical Society denomination, quadrennial, and other meetings. It used to be quite a tradition that every 4 years the denomination held a meeting, perhaps at Andrews, perhaps here, perhaps at Union, for all of the teachers of the sciences, and then alternating with the humanities and alternating with business and so forth. And we jointly went to many of those. Then there was this dig in Jordan, an archaeological event, where it turned out that Dr. Kuhlman didn't spend his time grubbing on the ground looking for fossils. He spent all his time repairing machinery.
And avoiding onions and squash and things like that.
Also a summer at the National Bureau of Standards, that was early on. Well, you can read the rest of it. A couple more remarks I'd like to make is that summer of 1970, I think it was, my family and I decided we were going to go on a trip around the United States. So we bought a little trailer, and Dr. Kuhlman looked at my car, and it, in common with his cars, was quite old. Sort of a tradition between us. We just don't consider a car broken in until it has 100,000 miles. And he said, 140,000 is pushing it for a trailer. So he drove that old Pontiac up to the dealership in Berrien Springs, put in a new motor. So we were quite grateful to have that when we were crossing the desert at 128 degrees. I don't think the old engine would have survived. But that's just
Doc,
typical.
I left here Friday afternoon, drove to Michigan, Saturday night, most of the night, we got that engine in brand new, 1970, and you had a 63, 64 Pontiac stick shift? 63. And I was back here for Monday's class.
I don't think you want to do that again.
I was young.
But as an example of a person who is dedicated to family, I don't think I could beat Dr. Kuhlman.
That's exactly
Anything.
right.
He's been a great example to me and to many others. So thank you for everything you've done.
And a couple of final words. One of the hobbies that we've noticed that Dr. Kuhlman has is traveling with a purpose. We've seen pictures of him walking around Germany with this big old clunky, funny looking thing over his face because he went there with the express purpose to see a total solar eclipse. He makes trips to Florida once in a while, and his trips to Florida aren't to go lay on the beach, but to go watch the space shuttle go off. So he's been to a few of those. So, and some of his trips have to do with analyzing golf ball trajectories in southern Georgia, I think, sometimes. There's some other pointed trips. So the department, in consultation with some family members, the Kuhlman family members, thought, what would we like to do to help Dr. Kuhlman celebrate? And one of the things we thought of was a trip with a purpose. That seemed like a good thing. So if you don't mind coming up here, I have a little travel brochure for you. And it's just to spark your ideas in your head. You know, you might have some other things you want to do, but we've come up with a couple of ideas that we think you might enjoy. And I don't know, 44 years is quite a long time. Those of you that know anything about denominational wage scale know that it'd be nice to have a little bit more, and so we decided to, that 100 was a good number, and so we are going to try to supply you with a nice trip on the order of 44 years times $100 is some of that. But here's a little travel brochure that talks about some of the stuff you might think about doing. I understand there's a total solar eclipse that'll be only viewable from New Zealand of all places. They have some places that NASA goes now to shoot rockets up, since we don't have any International Space Station access from Florida anymore. You can go to a place called Kazakhstan, where they shoot up from Baikonur Cosmodrome. So that's another option we thought about, but you might have some others you might think about and rather do. But here's a little travel brochure for you to think about in the next few weeks and months, okay? Congratulations. Okay, that's it for the presentations. Feel free to, again, sign this if you want. Those of you that come in, there's some food over there. Oh,
Do you want to read this
yes,
one?
there
That came
is
yesterday.
Did you have something you were going to say? There's something else that came yesterday. I'll just read this. It's to Henry Albert Kuhlman, PhD, Post Office Box, etc. Dear Dr. Kuhlman, I'm pleased to join your family, friends, and colleagues in congratulating you on a 44-year career in education. Our nation's future depends on the quality of education we provide our children. Every American educator shoulders the great responsibility of preparing young minds for the world they will inherit. As you leave this noble profession, I hope you will look back on your achievements and contributions with joy and pride. Congratulations again on your retirement. Michelle and I send our best wishes for happiness and good health in the years ahead. Sincerely, Barack Obama.